It's the fun car with the fun name that didn't revolutionize everything, but perfectly embodied the hot hatch. The Ford Fiesta. We have to travel back to the 1970s, when Henry Ford II saw the rise of the Fiat 127 and the Renault 5, and the start of the gas crisis rise to succession. And despite his initial hesitancy about building their own Super Mini because of the costs, the oil crisis was a perfect way to kickstart the project. It was designed by Ghia, who also penned the De Tomaso Pantera, and it was a smaller with just a 90-inch wheelbase weighing about 2,000 pounds, and it was pretty good looking. It's actually one of the better looking 80s hatchbacks. And like all hatchback Super Minis, it had a 4-cylinder, 1-liter transverse engine powering the front wheels. And when it launched in 1977, it was Ford's first ever global front-wheel drive car. Sure, it made a whopping 40 horsepower and could do 0 to 60 in 18.6 seconds. But it was cheap, less than 2,000 pounds new. And Ford paid a lot of attention to ease of repair, surprisingly. They actually printed out a little booklet that detailed the time it took to replace each part on the car. They don't do that nowadays, do you? And as the Fiesta started to sell into the millions, Ford decided to branch out and make faster versions to not just compete with the Golf, but with the Golf GTI. And what they came up with was the XR2. It had a 1.6-liter twin-carb engine, making 84 horsepower, and was the fastest Mark I Fiesta with a top speed of 106 miles an hour. But it was light, it had good suspension and good brakes, and it had cool graphics you would expect from the 1980s. It was a sensation for the budget-minded enthusiasts, but Ford was eager to improve upon the Fiesta and take down their rivals because the XR2 was great, but it could be better. So the Mark II came out, and it was mainly updates for the second gen. The interior was more comfortable, it had wraparound headlights, and it got parts from the Escort and the Sierra. And this improved comfort without designing new components, which meant it was still cheap. And the XR2 was given a similar treatment, getting the Escort XR3's 95 horsepower, 1.6-liter engine. And there was also an automatic version for the first time. And it worked. The variety of options you could get with this little tiny car meant that it was the best-selling car in all of Britain by the end of 1989 at 4.5 million sales. And then we get to, we're going to call it the Inter period, because the Mark III, the Mark IV, and the Mark V were very good vehicles. Make no mistake. But they weren't really special. Yes, if you took them to a B road, they would still be very good fun, because although they are the biggest Fiestas so far with 5-door versions, the semi-independent rear suspension meant it could actually handle even better than before, and it had a 1.8-liter turbo engine making 130 horsepower, but they really weren't all that special. There was a Mark V RS concept with racing suspension, low-profile tires, a new exhaust, and 180 horsepower, but nothing came of it. So we're just going to fast forward through all of that into the Mark VI, if we may, launched in 2008 as part of Ford's Global Car Program, which was designed to make one car for the entire global market to save money, instead of developing one for each section, each region of the world. And with the gas prices rising here in the States, Ford decided to give us the Fiesta for the first time since the OG Mark I, and it became the best-selling British car of all time, with over 6% of all British cars being registered as Fiestas. That's insane. Why? Because even the budget-friendly base models had fancy tech like USB ports, electric power steering, and other luxury amenities for a base model hatchback. And it came with a 1-liter EcoBoost, making 100 horsepower that could get over 30 mpg. And again, like the Mark III through 5, it was just as well handling even though it was the base model. It was fun, it had good suspension and lightweight, it was practical, and it was cheap. Everyone from your local floors to the British Royal Marines could get their hands on one. And it was good for Ford because it disguised their transmission problems. For a while, at least. Because, Ford also launched a new, dry-shifting power shift gearbox in the Fiesta and the Focus. But as a news investigation would find, engineers were constantly worrying that Ford's mandates about rushing the car into production would cause the gearbox to be problematic as it entered production, with one memo saying as clear as day, and I'm quoting, "We also cannot achieve a drivable calibration that will get us to production. The torque delivery must be improved," all caps. Ford, now aware that there was a gearbox that could suddenly shift into neutral or lose power altogether, decided to launch the cars into production anyway and threatened anyone who thought of speaking out. But as the injuries and the lawsuits started piling up, the National Highway and Traffic Safety Administration started investigating, and eventually all was revealed. And in the end, Ford had to pay the damages to the injured and offer a $20,000 buyback program for every single one of the 1.5 million cars. It does not pay to cheat, people. It does not pay to cheat. If we can get away from that slightly depressing topic for a second and move on to the Fiesta ST. The new ST was arguably the gold standard for hot hatches. I mean, it won Top Gear's Car of the Year in 2013, and Recaro seats, torque vectoring, a fast 6-speed manual, rear lip splitter, and 197 horsepower from its overboost 4-cylinder. It could do 0 to 60 in under 7 seconds, had a top speed of 155 miles an hour, which is, of course, irrelevant, because it's a hot hatch, which is why Ford paid special attention to the steering feel, the suspension feel. It cocks the rear wheel up when you go around a corner. It is a fun car. It puts a smile on your face while still being affordable. It's less than 30 grand for a performance car. That is phenomenal. And it continues that with the Mark 7, which was launched in 2017, and it's pretty much the same as the Mark 6, like the Mark 1 was to the Mark 2, it's a bit of a refresh. It's got the same engine, similar proportions, similar performance. The ST is back, barring a new performance package, which includes a new LSD launch control and a shift light, if you need that. The big change, though, and the one that's really depressing, it's not here in America, or indeed any other non-European markets, because SUVs are popular. God damn it. It's a brilliant car. I think it looks great. They really improved upon the Mark 6 styling cues. Not that those were particularly bad either. And the handling is still great. It's still affordable. The fact that we're not getting it is a goddamn crime. Ford, get your crap together. But at least it's still in production. We're just gonna have to wait 25 years to import it. Now, you can't talk about Ford's hatchbacks without talking about rallying. And the Fiesta is no stranger to this. The first Fiesta WRC car competed in the 1979 Monte Carlo Rally, driven by Roger Clark and Ari Vatanen. It was a heavily modified road car featuring a pioneering LSD for one of the first times in rallying, which helps Vatanen finish 9th overall and start an interest in performance Fiestas. And then, Ford shifted efforts on the Escort and the Sierra and the Focus. Which, I mean, did well. They won 2 championships with the Focus, but, they sort of forgot about the Fiesta for a while. At least until 2011, when it finally got back in the WRC under the M Sport division, where it won 6 rallies before finally securing the driver's and manufacturer's title in 2017, with a successful driver's title defense in 2018. And that was just the tip of the iceberg for the Fiesta in rallying. It's competing in Group N, Super 1600, Super 2000, and R5. These are all-wheel drive, 300 horsepower, 2,800-pound monsters. They're not quite full WRC, although it also competes in WRC, even if Toyota is slightly outclassing them a lot. Where they are not outclassing them is Rallycross. It's competing in both the Global Rallycross Championship and privateer entries in the FIA Rallycross Championships. And it's done very well. Since 2009, it has won 4 GRC titles in a row, with Tanner Faust winning 2 in a row. And these things are the fastest accelerating circuit racers in the entire world. They're all-wheel drive, 2,200 pounds, ridiculous aerodynamics, 600 horsepower, 670 torque, and that is just in rallycross trim. They took one to Pikes Peak a few years ago, which made 800 horsepower from a 2-liter 4-cylinder. It can do 0 to 60 in 1.8 seconds. They are insane. I love them. They accelerate faster than Formula 1 cars. That's all you need to know. And that is why Ken Block has used 5 Fiestas in his various Gymkhana series. And if it's good enough for Mr. Block, then it's good enough for your daily commute around the block, whether you're going sideways or simple. That's the joy of the Fiesta. It is a car for everyone. If you want to have fun on a budget, go ahead. If you want to max it out and put 400 horsepower in it, you can do that. If you want to get an estate car and drive around with your children, perfect. It's like 15 grand. That is the joy of the Fiesta. It is truly a people's car, while also being incredibly fun to drive.